You're fine with the poly thing.
Yes.
Andrew, I wanted to ask you your take on this.
And trans lives matter.
Whoa, that kind of came from nowhere.
Well, I just think like everyone matters. I just was throwing that out there.
Hold on.
It kind of popped in my head because of the Canadian family thing. I have a trans family member that I found out exists that I didn't know before. Yeah.
Yeah, but what does that mean? It's just an empty platitude. Right?
What?
Trans lives matter. Okay, and then you qualify it with all
Also, I
lives
had a
matter.
trans
so then,
foster
it just doesn't
sister
matter.
in
You're
foster
just,
care.
you're just basically zeroing in on something that's irrelevant, right? If you say all, it
like
already
I said, it
encompasses
just popped
trans
in my head
people.
in like the scheme of things.
It was a non sequitur. Was it a
just
non
doesn't mean
sequitur?
anything.
I don't even know what that means.
It just means it means nothing, and it.
I mean,
it
yeah,
like
it was
led to nothing.
it was the intrusive thoughts take over.
Yeah. Well, how about this? Since you brought it up.
Okay.
Since you brought it up, I always avoid these topics, but let's try to bring this into the realm of dating. Would you object to a man not wanting to date a trans woman?
People are entitled to their preferences.
Would it be transphobic to not want to date a trans woman?
I don't think so. I think people are entitled to their preferences. I think everyone has different boundaries. There's people that will hate me for being okay with people being poly despite the fact I'm not poly. Okay. Like, people are always going to have their own opinions on things.
Going around the table on this?
What? Could you repeat the question?
Do you object to men not wanting to date trans women?
Oh, no.
Going around the table?
Well, if I was a man, I wouldn't want to date a trans woman either. So.
That's their, like, I don't think that's transphobic if someone says that's not my choice, that's not my standard.
No, but I'm actually curious to get your opinion and yours as well about the topic of what you mentioned earlier about dating multiple people.
Well,
that was.
Maybe time permitting, we'll come back to that.
No.
Yeah. No.
Okay. Another question related to this. Let's say would you object to a guy categorizing, or just anybody categorizing, a man dating a trans woman? Like, let's just have like, hold on. No, let's just have a sort of intellectual analysis conversation about this.
I hear you.
My view on this, I shouldn't have said that. Don't cancel me, whatever.
He means my view on this.
Wait, what's that?
He means my view on this. That's what he meant.
Yeah. So Andrew,
he's not scared to get canceled.
Speaking as if Andrew was passing through me. What the fuck?
Oh my gosh.
Not like in a weird sort of way, but I had his spirit inside me. I'm channeling Andrew's deeply toxic and, deeply, okay, just say it, Brian, Jesus, okay. I think it would not be straight for a male, I'll say a man to date or have carnal knowledge of a trans woman. That's not straight, and it never can be.
That's your opinion.
It certainly is it certainly is Andrew's opinion, but
I understand.
Do you
object
to this categorization? Because
It's a good question. I'm not gonna lie. I honestly just think you're entitled to your opinion there. I don't like.
Well, what's your opinion?
Me personally,
could it be straight for a man to date a trans woman? You can still be straight. Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Going around the table on this.
I'm probably the only one that thinks that.
Well, I don't know. I don't think that they necessarily. I don't know. I think it's so to each their own for that, to be honest, because it.
Well, this would be objective, I think.
I'm thinking that if. I don't know. I've met some trans women that are fully transitioned, and what does that no idea that they were trans.
But what does that mean when you say fully transitioned?
Bottom and top, like all surgeries done.
So they're fully what?
Fully a woman.
They're fully a woman.
Now they are fully a woman.
They're fully a
They have
woman.
all the woman things you'd want on a woman. And none of the male
Want?
things that would be identifying as a male. At that point,
Do you
I
think
think
that
that's
I
a
can
straight
be,
relationship.
as a man, do you think that I can be tricked into believing that I'm not trying to say this to be insensitive, but if you've surgically removed your peen and you've put what is essentially, I think my understanding, it's an open wound basically. That's not pussy. That's not a vagina.
yeah, then I'd say that's your opinion.
It's not
because-
my opinion, it's fact.
What?
Well, I think.
Wait. How is it his opinion?
Well, because it might not be just like a born biological vagina, but a lot of people would still consider having that anatomy down there being having a vagina. So if you're able to kind of correct that medically, a lot of people would still consider now you have a vagina.
No, you
But
have.
there's so much more to being a woman, though, than just
I'm
No,
literally
but I'm-
just talking
let's-
about the genitals right
let's
now. I
no.
get that.
I'll engage you strictly on the genital conversation.
Yeah.
That's not pussy.
But it looks like
But
pussy.
it
From what
doesn't look
I don't know.
like-
I haven't like examined.
I don't know.
But
To be honest, I
think
just
so.
had watched like this like short documentary. I don't remember who it was by, but just because I was intrigued and I wanted to have a little bit more accurate information since I genuinely didn't know that much about this topic. And it was just from the medical side and literally
The
like
medical
how
side?
they take how they do it, how they change it from what you had before to what you're wanting. Literally just like the surgery process of it and how it works and why it works and why the nerve connections now, like trans people after those surgeries, they can climax in the
Don't care.
yes.
Don't care. That is a vagina. That's not a vagina.
You're allowed
Why?
to.
Yeah.
And
that's your-
hang on,
that's
when
your
they
opinion.
do,
It's not- no.
Hang on, when those
It's not
those
my
trans
opinion.
people, when those trans people do climax,
Truth Bomb donated $100. Crazy this is even in question. You cannot be something you're not. Men are men. Woman are woman. Just like a white man can't become a black man.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly true. But to this, when those trans people do climax, if they are a M to F, is it going to be sperm or is it going to be ova?
Yeah, it's not gonna. I mean, it's not gonna be sperm. I'm not saying it's exactly the same
Yes,
thing.
it's going to be sperm
From.
from M to F. That's
If,
correct. What else could they
I'm
ejaculate?
sorry, I
other
heard
than
the other way
sperm?
around. My bad.
Yeah, what else could they ejaculate other than sperm?
I don't think they really ejaculated that after the.
Just Tardu donated $100. It isn't straight. In fact, there's no way for it to be straight. You are still genetically a man, period, end of story. We are not God.
I mean, I think this is.
Wait,
all,
you. No,
I'm
go
sorry?
ahead. Go ahead.
I think this is all like very subjective, and I just think like they.
No,
they
it's subjective.
Matter.
It's not subjective.
I
What
think-
does homosexual mean? Homo meaning same, sexual meaning sex. Unless you're claiming that they're a different sex because they've had genital mutilation, I would like to actually hear the rationale for how this is not objective.
See, that's a claim that can be made. You can like disagree with that, but there are people that firmly believe that. That's why I feel this.
Yeah,
question's
so people can
subjective.
firmly believe things that aren't true, right?
There's a lot of species that switch sexes, and then they're
Yeah, not
genuinely
ours.
considered.
Our species
Wait,
is not one of those
what?
species that can switch
Yeah,
sexes.
it's actually.
Unless are you claiming that
Wait, what do you mean?
that humans can switch their sex?
No.
Well, I mean, medically now.
Medically, yes, we
No,
now have
that's
a way to do it.
no. Medically,
No.
we cannot switch
You
our
can't
sex.
switch
It's
your
not
sex.
Not
possible.
your sex, your gender.
Right,
not
but
your expression.
I gotta get
I
up.
don't know the right
Continue,
word.
Andrew.
I don't want to say it.
Okay,
the right
so
word.
let's break this down. Gender is a social construction. Sex is a biological certainty.
Okay.
Correct? Gender is a social construction,
biology
meaning how
versus
we
society.
perceive a male or a female as being as far as behavioral characteristics go. We can say that's socially constructed, right? Based on culture, based on things like this. However, sex and sex characteristics themselves, those are not socially constructed. Those are biological realities, meaning if you were in a coma and you were the last person on Earth who existed, your sex would still be what your sex was.
I mean, but they get their like IDs changed and everything, and like.
Oh. You can get your ID changed right now to doctor. Does that make you a doctor? You could change your name to Dr. Such and Such. Does that mean you're a doctor now?
No, but I'm saying, like, if in the scenario you just said, like, technically, wouldn't they be looked at as, like, a woman on their, or man, or whatever they have identified as and gone through, like, the procedures to become, like, on their deathbed? Wouldn't, like, the doctors still, like, perceive them as that?
No.
If they're dead?
No. Here, let me give you an example of how untrue this
oh.
actually is. Here, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Let's assume for a second that there was a virus that only affected males and not ever females. If somebody had transitioned from a male to a female, would that virus still affect them?
Biologically, I guess it would be capable of affecting them in theory in this, like, extreme hypothetical.
No, it's not an extreme hypothetical. There are some viruses which
Really?
only affect different sexes. I don't know if you're aware of that,
I
but
wasn't.
but the question becomes, if that is true and it would still affect them, then you have just determined that their sex has not been changed.
I think this is subjective.
I have a question.
How can it be subjective if you just gave an
Truth
objective
Bomb
metric?
donated $100. Using the animal reference is stupid. Animals do things that people should never do. Rodents eat their young. Male dogs will hump other male dogs. Just because animals do doesn't make it okay.
We are animals.
People do things animals wouldn't and shouldn't do, like pollute the earth and whatever other reference I can think of. I feel like that's like an invalid argument.
Why would that be an invalid argument? Obviously, we can transcend what lower animals do, and I know this because we eat them and seem to think it's okay, and we don't eat people and seem to think that's not okay.
There's a lot of cannibals.
I think we have a lot of, like, issues.
Do you think
in
we should
society.
eat people?
No.
No, clearly you hold people in a different regard than other animals then, don't you?
Well, I mean, no and yes. I mean, I was vegan for years, but I'm not currently, so I'm not going to say your claim is, like, completely
Yeah, that claim went out the
wrong.
window the second you had that nice
But
tri-tip steak, didn't it?
I do think that we as a society are corrupted in many ways and could do better. Like, if being vegan was more easily accessible, everyone could do it, and we could be ethical and not eat animals, but it's not an easy thing to do either.
Don't you make tons of money on OnlyFans?
I lived in Guam for 4
Yeah,
months.
so I mean, you
My
could be a
point is I
vegan if
could-
you wanted to
in
be.
Guam, they don't have, like, tofu. Like, you can
Yeah,
go
okay,
there
but
and
they
check.
have vegetables in Guam.
I guess.
Yeah,
But
so
then,
you're
like,
not a
protein-
vegan because you like to eat meat. So clearly you think that eating animals, consuming their flesh after they're killed is absolutely fine. If you think that that's
No,
true,
I don't think
clearly
it's
you
fine.
hold
I don't-
you hold people in a
I don't
different
think it's
regard than
fine.
animals.
I think that's why people identify themselves as sinners, because we all do things that are bad, and I think that is bad, actually. Like, no, I don't think it's fine. I
You think it's
socially,
bad, but you do
I
it
think
anyway,
it's
huh?
socially normal, but I don't think it's, like, good.
Then why do you do it?
I don't know. I'll stop now, but I don't agree with it.
You're
so-
gonna stop eating meat?
Yeah, I
Really?
already did for years.
And now suddenly you're gonna start again because you suddenly had the realization that it's immoral to
Well,
eat
I
meat?
acknowledged it was
After a
immoral.
30-second
It's
conversation
an
with
immoral
me?
thing that I've turned a blind eye to, but I shouldn't. You're right. We shouldn't turn a blind eye to that. It is immoral.
It's immoral to eat meat.
I think so.
Okay, so you're never gonna eat meat again.
You're right.
And do you consider eating meat to be on par with human cannibalism?
I don't know about that.
Well, if the answer is no, and you don't, then you must hold animals in a different regard than you hold humans. So just saying that we're
That's
animals would still
reasonable.
make no sense.
I agree with the fact that I hold animals, and we as a society, and not just myself, but yes, including me, hold animals in a different regard than
Right.
other
So
people.
if you do, then just saying that we're animals would be a silly argument,
But
right?
we
Because
are.
you clearly believe that there's something distinctive between us and animals, or you wouldn't eat
I
their
think any other
flesh, right?
I think any other animal would favor its brethren and its species over us.
No,
and
they
other
don't give a
species.
shit. Animals eat each other all the
don't know
time,
that.
including within their own species.
Not every animal.
I didn't say every animal,
Okay.
but many of them do. And
think there
almost
are
all the
ethical
carnivores
animals.
will eat their dead. We don't eat our dead.
Truth Bomb donated $100. At the end of the day, when human remains are discovered, they can be identified by bone structure. They don't look at male bones and say, I wonder if this person identified as a female. This is crazy.
I'm not arguing with biology. I'm just saying everyone matters. Like everyone, poly people matter. Any other sexuality that's escaping my mind at the moment, trans lives matter. Everyone matters. That's what I'm saying.
That's an empty platitude, though.
And that's how I feel. If
you
it's so
believe
empty,
all
then I'll
lives
stay
matter,
empty.
right?
What?
You believe all lives matter, right?
I believe everybody matters. I don't believe in the term all lives matter.
Yeah, but you do, because you think everybody matters. What, all and everybody, what's the distinction between those two words? All
the
people
abuse of
versus
that
every
term.
person.
The abuse of that term in recent years. And,
So you're giving it a
being
political
utilized-
connotation.
The negative I don't care to even remotely affiliate with the negative connotation surrounding the term that has been established.
Okay, let's forget the political connotation for a
Well,
second.
I'm keeping
when you
those in
say
regard.
when you say all, meaning everyone, everybody matters.
Everybody
that would
matters.
necessarily be inclusive of trans people and everybody else, right?
Everybody matters.
Right. So then the only reason that you're making these special distinctions and categories is it's a
Because
virtue
society
signal,
does.
correct?
It's because what? I'm sorry?
It's a virtue signal.
Virtues? I don't understand what you mean by that.
It's you saying that I hold this category in this regard as being special in some way, which is
I
why I'm
think-
singling it out.
I think newer categories like trans was kept in the dark for longer, so it does need to be mentioned. It's more modern. Certain categories need to be mentioned more because they're more modern. Women's rights as well, because women didn't have the same rights just within the past
So
century.
you're virtue signaling. You think it's maximum virtue in order to identify these groups which you consider to be oppressed and then give them some
Okay.
type of special shout out. That is literally the definition of virtue signaling.
Fair enough. Then I do
Yeah,
that.
so-
If that's
So,
what that
you're
is.
virtue signaling. So that's meaningless to me. Virtue signaling is meaningless to me. I'm just
That's
sticking
all I'm
with
doing
what
then,
the
though.
facts of the matter are.
Okay, but the facts of the matter are that's what I'm doing. That's how I feel, and I
Yeah, that's
feel
your
that those
virtue signal.
virtues matter.
Yeah, it's a huge virtue signal. So back to the question at hand as to whether or not trans individuals, if you engage a M2F transitioner to them having sex with a fellow male, can you explain how that's not homosexual sex?
I'm sorry. I'm gonna need you to repeat that because something semi-interesting.
If two men have sex, how are they not homosexuals?
By their own boundaries and definition, I'm guessing in that
I see.
circumstance.
So let's
I'm
assume
not a
for a
man,
second-
so I can't put myself.
Got
in
it.
that
So let's
perspective.
assume for a second then that if it's based on self-ID, if two men are engaged in a sex act and one of them decides to change their gender in the middle of having sex, is it now a heterosexual sex act?
That's so
Meaning, let's assume one of
unrealistic.
them says I'm a woman, one says I'm a man. They're both males, but in the middle of them having sex, one says, you know what, I'm a man again. Are they homosexuals then?
If you say so.
No, I'm asking you.
It's so unrealistic that I can't.
Why would that be
answer it.
unrealistic? You could just self-ID. That's what you're saying. As long as you self-ID as being this thing and your boundaries support this thing, then a person in the middle of having sex with another person, the other person could say, well, now my gender is this, and that would make them a homosexual.
I mean, I don't know. I think just people's boundaries matter, and how they identify their cards should be laid on the table beforehand. They should be transparency and boundaries matter. That's where I'm getting at. That's all it comes down to. Transparency and
Yeah, but
boundaries matter.
this doesn't
I
answer
think
to
if
the
someone
question
was
of could.
I think if someone was to say something mid-sex of that regard, it would matter what their intention is and what their relationship is. I think like the way you're describing it sounds like it's of malicious intent, in which case I would think that that's like malicious.
No, there's no malicious intent. They
Then
just
I
got a
mean, as
feeling.
long as they're aware, like maybe like they switch like I hear like BDSM people switch, maybe like they're aware in advance that their partner switches gender. I'm not like familiar with that. I haven't met anyone that like identifies as that or does that, but like if they're aware of that with each other and two consenting adults, then I don't think it matters.
Big Sass Energy donated $100. It's only gay if you continue pumping.
And in the middle of them having sex, can one of them change their race?
No, but that's definitely not the same.
Why not?
Race
Why
and-
can't they? All
race
they
and
have to do is
gender
decide they're a
identity are
different
not the
race, right?
same. Race and gender identity are not the same.
Oh, wait. Now it's gender identity, not a biological reality. So if it's
I
just
never
a
said it was
gender
a
identity, then can
I never
you
said
explain
it was
why
a biological reality. We've like already established it's like
If it's a biological reality and it's two people of the same sex having sex, how is it not homosexual sex then? Homo meaning same, sex meaning, sex.
I think there's
Lawyered.
a lot of identities. And
Checkmate.
I don't agree, but I just think there's a lot of different ways people nowadays identify and have their own sexuality and
Okay.
are not in
They identify as being
conformity.
black and then they identify as being white. Why are they wrong?
Going from gender to race, it's not the same.
They're both
You're not
social
making-
constructions, correct? Or is race
Sexual
also a biological reality?
constructions? Social. Okay. All right.
Oh, it is a social construction. So they can change their race in the middle of having sex then, right?
No, but is it a social construction? Isn't it?
I'm asking you, is it a
I
social
don't-
construction or a biological reality?
I don't know, but I
don't
know
know?
they're not the same.
Right, okay.
I know that
so-
you can do a 23andMe and see like your race and background that's in your blood.
So
and
then
it's-
if it's a biological reality, if race is a biological reality and you can't change that in the middle of sex, and your sex is a biological reality which you can't change in the middle of sex, then it would have to be homosexual sex. There couldn't be anything else it could be.
I feel like people
Lawyer.
can identify as whatever they'd like, and people move
Except black to white?
People move no, because those are
Those are biological realities. Can't change those, right?
They're not just biological realities. They're like
Light that ciggy up, Andrew.
oh my god.
Hey, but Nick,
What
put it
the-
back.
I know.
Bro,
Oh, okay.
you missed the ciggy light. Oh my God, Nick. Rude. Nicholas Gertrude Guantanamo. If Andrew is ever lighting a cigarette, you never switch away. Never. Okay.
What would the kids think? What will the kids think?
What would the kids? All right, let me read a couple chats here, and then you guys can continue talking about gay sex or whatever it was you guys were talking about. Carl Bennington says, "I love sluts." Sweet, thank you, bro. Appreciate it. We have Kubanski. Oh wait, that's just one of. Did you already pull this one up, Nick?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, this one. Okay. I'm just waiting for the TTS coming in. Here it is.
Nickelodeon donated $100. Does everyone really matter? Or only special interest oppressed groups? Don't tell me there's no hope at all. Together we stand, divided we fall.
It's beautiful. By the way, I just want to take this moment to, while we're talking about gay sex and stuff, to this episode is. I feel like this is a bit flippant to say. Sorry, it's being kind of. This episode is dedicated to the memory of. Oh, I shouldn't say it now. I feel like I'm being. Huh? I gotta wait a little bit. I just talked about. I shouldn't talk about. I shouldn't do a memory. Okay. You're right. So I was just gonna say I put out these Dragon Ball Z VHS containers, not DVD containers, VHS containers, just like in memory. Cool. All right, we have Matthew Harder here. Jesus, Brian, here, let me spell it out for you. And all the astrology lovers on the panel, there will be a solar eclipse on the 8th of April in North America. This is where the sun is blocked by the moon. The next one is in 20 years. Experience it. Can somebody fucking cipher his super chats, bro?
Is he being literal?
No, there's like a fucking cipher. Like he's there's like some words are capitalized
Living
and
underscore
shit.
donated $100. Andrew, why do you always look like you're about to cry? And why do you do that tick with your head where you turn it to your left? All these women are smarter than not so fucking bright.
Okay, so let me respond to some of this. I can't help the fact that I have a negative cantal tilt, okay? It's just the way I was. It's the way I was born, right? It's an Irish trait. What can I say? Right? So maybe that's why I always look like I'm sad, even though I'm always happy. But then to the other end of this, no, they're not all smarter than not so fucking bright, but most of them are. So.
Cool. Guys, go to twitch.tv/whatever. Drop us a follow, drop us a Prime sub. If you have Amazon Prime, you can link it to your Twitch. It's a quick, free, easy way to support the show every single month. Also, sub to our Clips channel. Oh, never mind. Already beat you, Nick. Sorry.
You know what I should have said? You know what I should have said in retrospect, but now it's not going to be nearly as funny.
Yeah,
what I should have said was I look like I'm always about to cry because I'm on a panel with these women. That would have been fucking awesome, but I fucked it up, Brian.
You missed opportunity, Andrew. Missed opportunity. Okay. Goddamn. How did we started talking about that stuff? Because like you brought that up super fucking randomly. Thanks, dude.
We established this.
Thanks, bro.
Intrusive
Appreciate
thoughts
it.
took over. Congrats.
But like, so for example, right? I'm straight.
Oh, we're still on this? Let's go.
If I didn't want to date a trans woman,
We just established this. I think that's your preference you're entitled to.
Okay, but I would think it might be not straight to suck a woman's dick.
What?
Just saying. You know what I mean? Would that be... Because you said, right, because a woman could have a penis, right?
No.
Right? A woman could have a penis.
Hermaphrodites.
No.
Oh, that's a good point.
But are you saying trans women aren't women? Because you could be a trans woman but not have... Well, talking to the mic, but
Different.
you could be a trans woman but not have had bottom surgery and still have your peen, right?
Yeah.
Do you plan to keep it? Like,
What?
Are you keeping the peen? Like,
I
do
think
you
that
want to
the
live
argument though is
Yeah?
it doesn't. The thing is, most people right now
But
would say that
there's
it
still
doesn't
a woman.
matter.
There's still a woman, right?
If they're identifying as a woman, then technically,
They-
yes, they're going to be a woman. Like for their legal sex,
Right.
I don't think that they would.
You could put the number.
Well,
Oh, so wait a second. So if you gave one of these women in a dress a blowjob, you would be a lesbian.
The wrong person to ask. Sure.
That doesn't sound insane and ridiculous to you at all. Like the second you actually said the word sure, did you think to yourself, that's the dumbest thing I've ever said? I mean, honestly.
Well, for me personally, I just really don't care because me personally.
Well, I get that you don't care, but you know, if we're talking about it, if you just basically sucked off a dude in a dress, you would actually say that that's lesbian sex?
I think I'm confused now.
I don't agree with this conversation.
Going back to the original, why he even brought that up is because he's saying people say that it's transphobic.
I think
And that's
no.
going back,
Okay,
that's,
I get
the whole.
I get where
So,
I don't think.
So if a man
I think
is
people
with
are entitled
someone
to their
who is
preferences,
a trans woman that really is a man, so therefore that's like the long way around of being homosexual, is what it is. So
I think people are entitled to their preferences.
I think honestly, everybody, like in my opinion, anybody can decide how they feel, like if that is for them queer or not.
But we're not saying preference in the sense, because he's saying specifically people are being called transphobic for something.
Oh, I don't think that's transphobic at all.
It's okay. That's what he's saying.
Yeah,
that's the original argument.
I think that it's such a progressive concept that, to be quite honest, most people don't really have a solid, firm identity of how they would deal with that or what they would
I think
label
we don't
that
have,
as, because it's just so
let me give a little
convoluted.
pushback there, because I do. See, I think that they would say, well, no, you're gay. That's what I think that they would say. See,
I think
they would
people-
say,
I think
if a dude was blowing another guy, I think they would say, you're gay. That's what I think would happen. I don't think there's any confusion at all, in fact. I don't think anybody's confused about this.
I think I would be interested in the take of a trans person and how they perceive that, and I can't put myself in their shoes. I can only empathize with their plights and the way they're like stigmatized in society. I can't put myself in their shoes.
What? Why do I need to put myself in their shoes to understand that if a dude blows another dude, they're
I don't
gay?
understand the mentality of everybody else in the world. I think.
Why do I need to understand the mentality of somebody else to know that if a dude blows another dude, they're gay? Why do I need to? What mentality am I missing here?
Because
I
you're
feel
talking
like
about a woman.
I feel like I'm not. I feel like I'm straight.
Wait,
like, is that
we're
the
talking
mentality
about-
I'm
I was done with the
missing?
sentence. I just don't want to interrupt.
Wait, you said
I was
because
just
we're
gonna
talking
say
about a
because
woman
we're talking about somebody who's identifying as a woman,
who
and so,
has a penis?
But yes, but if you're talking about everybody in the world will look at that and be like, oh, it's gay, it's not gonna be viewed like that from everybody in the world, especially a lot of people in our generation.
But
I think that it's queer. I don't think that it's necessarily gay. I think anything involving the community is inherently queer. So you could say that it's not straight, but I wouldn't say that it's everyone's gonna say, oh, it's gay.
Is it
No,
homosexual?
I think
it's queer.
almost everybody's going to say that it's gay.
I'd like
in
to
fact, let me just challenge
point
you on
out,
this,
here's
right?
one thing.
I think right now that if we went down any American street, which exists, and we were to ask people, sir or ma'am, if a man sucked off a man who was wearing a dress, would you consider them to be gay? What do you think they would say?
I think a very important point to make, and why I'm
Now, hang on, let her answer. What do you think they would say?
Wasn't this question for me? Okay.
I think that if it's a man in a dress, then it's a man in a dress. I think if it's somebody identifying as a woman in a dress, then it's somebody identifying as a woman in a dress, and those
Great,
can't
so let's
be
change
said
it
as the
then,
same
and we'll
thing.
say, we go down the same street and we say, sir, there's a man who's going to suck off another man who identifies as a woman.
I think it's
Right? There's
queer.
two males, but one identifies as a woman and one's about to suck the other one off. Do you think that they're gay? What do you think they would say?
I think it's queer. I think that not everybody's going to say that's gay, so I think it falls under the umbrella of queer, and then each person is going to personally define that instance.
Well,
to be
gee, what
honest.
does queer mean? Does that
Anything
mean
under the
other than same-sex
LGBTQ
activity?
spectrum. Anything under the LGBTQ spectrum. Trans, all that is all queer.
I
It's
just-
like,
Yeah, but that would mean if it's queer or LGBTQ. Let me make sure I got this right. Lesbian, right? Gay. So far, am I correct so far? Bisexual, transgender,
Can I
and
say
queer.
something?
This is all other than this is all same-sex activity, correct?
no. Queer is an overarching umbrella that includes all of those things. It doesn't have to
Okay,
necessarily
I'm
be
so confused.
same-sex.
Lesbian would be same-sex, right? Gay would be same-sex. Bisexual is alluding to people who also have sex with the same sex. So I'm so confused by this.
Bisexual doesn't necessarily mean sex with the same sex.
Well, then I'm confused. If you only had sex with the opposite sex, how could you be bisexual?
No, bisexual is attracted to two different. So there could be bisexual people who are only attracted to like trans women and like
Yeah, we would call them homosexuals.
small men.
I've
Like,
never-
it's a spectrum.
I've never met a trans male-born female person who's wanted to keep their male genitalia, so I can't answer this question.
Why can't you answer the question? Who cares if they keep the
I just-
genitalia or don't keep the genitalia?
I mean,
They're
based on
still
my
males.
experience with like trans people, they cared. So I don't think it's fair to categorize them with these hypothetical scenarios that
Well, I
don't
don't think
apply
it's fair
to
not to.
them.
I think it's unfair for you not to consider same-sex activity to be homosexual. I think that's unfair. I think you're being the most unfair you could be.
I think your hypothetical is. I just think your hypothetical is non-applicable.
The hypothetical of well, let's see if we can map this on to something which is not a hypothetical. There was a music video recently of a man who went on to Adam 22's show after he made the music video, and the music video was all about how his trans lover was better than if he was a heterosexual, and he talked all about how they engaged in all sorts of sex acts with each other. So now we're not in hypothetical world anymore. Is
I don't know.
that
I
guy
have
gay?
to see the clip. I don't know.
You don't know.
Can't wrap my mind around it. It's not like in my sphere of things that I am accustomed to. But everyone in their preference, like they're entitled to it.
Well, it's all right. I don't think we're gonna get any progress there.
Okay.
I do think, though, if a dude is S-ing the D of a trans woman,
Not S-ing the D.
I don't think that's straight.
I just don't know of that ever
I
happening.
think it's queer.
I'm not saying
It's
it doesn't
not
happen.
straight.
I just don't know of that ever happening.
What the hell I don't understand what queer means if it doesn't mean same sex. I don't know. I just went through this. Lesbian, same sex, gay, same sex, bisexuals alluding to some sort of same sex attraction. You can't be bisexual, you'd be a heterosexual. What do you mean when you say queer if it doesn't mean same sex?
I think your limited views on that come from the fact that you're determined there are only two sexes
There are
That's
only
because
two
there
sexes.
are only two
or
sexes.
genders, because these are.
Well, no, hang on. There's an indefinite amount of genders because of the social construction. You make up whatever you want.
Exactly,
But there's only two
exactly.
sexes.
Okay, so I misspoke. I meant gender and not sex. But queer is going to involve anybody who identifies under any branch of whatever gender they feel like they are. Whatever that
And
may
I
be.
will accept that as an argument, absolutely, that you can identify as whatever gender you are. The question still comes down to if two people who are engaged in sexual activities who are the same sex, how would they not be under the umbrella of queer?
Wait,
Wait, what?
why is he freezing?
I don't
Is he
know.
freezing?
I just saw that too. It looks
He
like
got
we're
canceled.
good. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. So why is it then, even if we ascribe an indefinite amount of genders to people, same-sex activity would be homosexual sexual activity, correct? Same sex.
I don't really know how to answer that.
What's the next question?
Okay, hold on.
Yeah,
All right.
'cause-
I'm going to ask a question to Andrew.
We keep dancing
I'm gonna
in a
ask
circle.
I'm going to ask a question to Andrew, then we're going to move on. Andrew, would it be helpful, perhaps, for the more conservative position on this, to basically just say that we reject gender entirely and we only view this through the framework of sex? Would that be productive? Or will they
But
not?
that's what the second you say it's social construction, you're already rejecting it as anything other than a concept of the mind. So we're moving into biology immediately. So I'll accept the argument from the left of gender because it's irrelevant to me. Gender just means fashion. I don't care. You can have as many fashion statements as you want. A school doesn't exist, a building exists that we call a school. I can accept all of that as being true, but they're just concepts of the
Scoot
mind.
into the table.
What is not a concept of the mind is your biology. That is not mind-based. It's not mind-dependent. It's going to exist absent your social construction. So I'm just trying to step into
We'll move.